What is going on, people? Triple M back again with another video, this time joined by the delightful Sophia, my mud sister, as we are now fully in the mud as United fans to talk about all things Premier League. So it's quite a bit to talk about in today's show. But before we get into it, Sophia, how are you?
I'm doing all right. I mean, now that it's the international break, we don't have to watch Man United ruin our weekend. All right. Yeah. Hope that you're well as well.
Yeah, outside of the football, I've been doing pretty good, to be honest. So nothing to really complain about. And yeah, there's a lot to get into because I tell you what, I think a lot of people's Premier League predictions are probably looking a little bit funky with these opening 7 games because you've got Arsenal who have been resilient but haven't looked very pretty. And we've now got news that Odegaard could be out for much longer than initially expected. You've got Liverpool
Mm-hmm.
who are looking good as well, despite not being tested against a really good team in the Premier League so far. I think they still deserve credit as well. You've got Chelsea balling out. You've got City looking shaky, but Man City, you always do this at the beginning of the season, so I don't really think there's anything to reach into that. And then you've got a few other shocking teams as well, in terms of poor performances and good performances in the league that we can talk about throughout today's video. So lots to get into, but I think the appropriate place to start would be with Arsenal because I haven't really covered them a lot on the channel, and it's been a long time coming. They have been very resilient. I think that's the word I would use to describe Arsenal this season because they had a good result against PSG, obviously, and they've won 4 in a row since the Bolton game. But they drew to City, they drew to Atalanta. They didn't have a great game against Spurs, but still won anyways away from home. Wasn't really a great game against Brighton as well. I don't know how much of them you've watched the season, but what do you kind of make of Arsenal so far?
I mean, I watch a lot of Arsenal games. They're just rivals in general, but like you said,
Yeah,
certain games have been a little bit shaky, but then still, at least in the Premier League, they are unbeaten in the
yeah,
league, and they're doing their thing even without the likes of Martin Odegaard, their captain. They've still been able to push through, and
yeah,
that is important. That's big, especially with them being in another title race this season, and hopefully for them they'll be able to get to go all the way and win the whole thing. But I've been impressed. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I had to put my hands up in one of my shows the other week and be like, you know what? I kind of given Kai Havertz some stick, but I have to be like, you know what? He be showing up. I'm sorry. I
yeah,
apologize. He has been showing up and he's been important. I mean, I've always been a big fan of Bukayo Saka. He keeps cooking. He keeps being a very important player, steps up uh, in the absence of their captain, as mentioned, and been the captain in certain games. So he
yeah,
shows up. And of course, they have a wonderful defense. That's center back partnership in Gabriel and Saliba is still
yeah.
immense, still very good. So they got something going on, but I still do think that they probably should have gotten a little bit more reinforcements, such as maybe a striker up top. But either way, so far they've been good. So I gotta be honest and put my hands up there.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not sure. I think Saka's been wearing the captain's armband since Odegaard's been gone. If
Mm-hmm.
my memory serves me correct, but
I think
he's
so too.
having a
Yeah.
really decent season. Now, I haven't watched as much of Arsenal this season as I did last season and the season before, but Saka's doing really
Mhm.
well. According to SofaScore, he's got the most big chances created in the league so far, and he's got
Yeah.
decent numbers in terms of GA, as Saka always does. And then you brought up Kai Havertz there as well. Like that is a signing that I'm glad you brought up because it pains me as a United fan to see the contrast between him and Mason Mount. When they both left Chelsea, a
I
lot of
know.
people, including myself, predicted that they would both struggle. And the contrast
Yeah.
between the two is crazy. It's night and day. And it's almost made me respect Mikel Arteta a lot more, right? Like how he's been able to get Kai Havertz's career back on track and essentially turn him into a player that people are going, hang on a minute, this guy's actually useful. He's more than useful. He's actually part of the reason why Arsenal are still keeping up
Hmm.
with the likes of City and Liverpool because the only points separating them from top, I think it's only 2 points. And the level on points with City, actually, it's 1 point, right? They're 1 point behind Liverpool
It's one
and the
point.
level
Yeah.
on points with City at the moment. So it's
Hmm.
crazy how Kai Havertz has essentially become this player for Arsenal And when you consider the fact that I don't think Trossard has looked amazing this season, I don't think Martinelli's looked good for a while, to be honest, for Arsenal. And I rate Trossard, not so much Martinelli, but those two have been kind of letting Arsenal down. And Kai Havertz has been stepping up, Saka's been stepping up.
Hmm.
And that's the thing with Arsenal. They've got these players who keep stepping up. I just feel if one of them gets injured, it's curtains, right? Because a lot of people talk about Saliba and his
Yeah,
importance and Gabriel. Yes, their defense is very, very important, but I think Saka is arguably Arsenal's most important player. I don't know what you think about that, but for me, he's that guy who's dragging them through the mud at the moment,
yeah,
along with Kai Havertz.
yeah. I would say like it's like Saka, Ødegaard, but especially with Saka, like who really would be able to kind of do the job that he does in his
Yeah,
absence? I don't know. They put
yeah,
in a Raheem Sterling, of course, on loan, but he hasn't really had like the best of start so far. Maybe he'll come good eventually.
yeah,
I still don't think it's a bad move for him to go on
yeah,
loan to Arsenal, but with Saka, he's just too good, and I do feel a bit bad for the guy, for him to play
yeah,
so many games and be so reliant on. The, he needs a little bit of a break, I do think, and especially with England that he had to be subbed off throughout the game, and it doesn't look serious, but still, it looks to be that something ain't fully right. Like he's been shining, don't get me wrong, but he still needs to break. They're not machines, they're not robots. At some
yeah,
point, you will probably break down, and maybe that's what we're slowly seeing with Ibukai Saka. And I don't know, but he's a very important player, as you mentioned, Marcus.
yeah,
Incredible, important player for Arsenal indeed. So if they end up, losing him at some point this season, it's gonna
yeah.
show. It will show 100%.
No,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. I feel like Saka, again, he's one of those players that, again, I've also got to put my hands up because it's not that I don't rate Saka, but I've always felt like Saka's not on the level of Vinny, he's not on the level of Rodrigo. I've always kind of
Mm-hmm.
felt that he's just like a step below them, if that makes sense. Like a really good player, but I've never really called him world class. And I think he's making me eat humble pie
Mm-hmm.
because I'm seeing it now. The reason why it's different now compared to when Odegaard was in the team is because I rate Odegaard really highly. And I think Odegaard was the glue that was holding a lot of this attack together. And now that he's gone and Saka's still performing, I've had to put my hands up and be like, yo, maybe I had this the wrong way around because this guy is showing up when his team needs him the most. And that to me is part of the definition of a world class player. I know that word is kind of overused nowadays, but essentially, that's for me part and parcel of it. Being consistent, yes, is one of
Agree.
them. Scoring goals, getting output, it's one of them. But it's those key
Sorry.
moments where your team, no problem, where your
Yeah.
team is struggling
Mm.
and you deliver, and that's what Saka's
Yeah.
doing at the moment. And then obviously Saliba's been good,
100%.
Gabriel's been good. And Arsenal in general, they've responded kind of well. Yes, they're playing dice ball. It's not very pretty, and they're most what do they call it? The dark arts that they're doing at the moment. But look,
Yes.
that's kind of what you've got to do. I actually think it's a positive thing for Arsenal. Some people don't. Personally, I think that one of the reasons why Arsenal didn't win the title 2 seasons ago when they had that 8 point lead is they didn't know when to be pragmatic. They didn't know when to save their energy and just, kill out
Yes.
games. And I feel like when I
Agreed.
look at the difference between them and City, they know how to turn a game into a training session. They know how to just kill a game. Even if it's a 2
Hmm.
nil lead or a 1 nil lead, they've got that much confidence in themselves that we're not going to drop the 1 nil lead. We're just going to close it out.
Hmm.
And it doesn't look pretty, doesn't look pleasing on the eye, but it's effective. And that's the one thing Arsenal have been missing that they're finally showing. So if they can keep this up, it could be the season. But again, it's not just them. They've got Liverpool as well, who I kind of want to talk about next because they're another team
Hmm.
that I feel like didn't do enough business in the summer. Gravenberch has been good in that midfield. I think he's been their unsung hero.
Yeah.
But again, I don't trust Gravenberch. I'm not going to lie. As a non-Liverpool fan looking from the
Okay.
outside in, I don't think he's going to sustain these level of performances. And either that or he's going to get injured, right? And when he does inevitably get injured, I think Liverpool are going to have a huge problem. I don't know what you think about Liverpool so far.
It annoys me. They've been very good. Um, yeah, really, really good. And like you mentioned with Gravenberch, he's been cooking. He
Yeah.
100% has been extremely important for Liverpool indeed, and showed up in that midfield because they have been needing somebody to really dictate that midfield and help out, especially in that DM role. That is something that they've been
Yeah.
lacking um, since the likes of, Fabinho left, right?
Yeah.
They haven't really kind of replaced him at all. And they were very close to getting a Subamendi, but he decided to say, "Sorry, I'm gonna stay at the mountains. I
Yeah.
I don't want to go to y'all. Respectfully, no." So
Yeah.
yeah, and Graham Birch instead has been like, "Yo, I will show up," but I do still think that they really need somebody either way in that midfield. They do,
Yeah.
because you can't solely just rely on the same person week in, week out. You see that with Man City as well. The drop off between Rodri to the next man, that's pretty huge. Yeah, they manage
Yeah.
here and there, but at some point, with Rodri now being out for the rest of the season, if they don't replace him by January, then he will be peak for a Man City. I generally believe so, at least. So,
Yeah.
or unless somebody else steps up and can do somewhat half of a role that he does. And I feel the same way for Liverpool as well. Because Graham Birch, yes, he's been great, amazing, beyond that, but you still do need also rotational options. I do think is important because they will want to probably go as far as possible in the Champions League. I mean, they won it
Yeah.
before. They will be like, you know what? Let's try to win it again. And with the league, they are currently at the top of the league. You would want to go for it, right?
Yeah.
So you need options. That's at least what I
No,
think is important.
no, you're spot on, and it's not just the midfield. I mean, you look at Liverpool's attack as well. Jota is a player that I think is one of Liverpool, barring Mo Salah, obviously, because I know a Liverpool fan's going to be like, "What about Salah?" We're not talking about him. We know he's great. Okay, I'm a United fan. I don't like praising
No.
him, so we're going to ignore that guy. That Egyptian guy. But Jota is the one player for Liverpool that I think is capable of really contributing when Salah's not there, but he has a lot of injury issues. So, to your point about depth and needing options in the attack, I don't really trust. Well, if I was a Liverpool fan, let me say, I wouldn't really trust Jota because he is inevitably going to get injured. Cody Gakpo, yes, he
Mm,
scored 2 goals against West Ham, but is he consistently contributing for Liverpool on the scoreboard, getting assists, getting goals? Because currently Diaz is their top scorer with 5 goals. Behind him is Mo Salah with 4, and then it's a drop off from there. You've got Jota with the brace that he scored, I believe, against West Ham in the 5-1 drubbing. You've got Kanate, who's fourth, interestingly enough, and I guess he's tied with a bunch of people like Nunes and maybe Van Dijk, because I recall he did score a header recently against Milan, or maybe I'm mixing him up with Kanate, but one of the two, and a bunch of other
one
players
of the
as
two.
well
Yeah.
who are all on
Might
one
have
goal.
been both actually. I wonder if it was both.
Yeah,
Might have
I
been
think
both
it
of them.
actually was both because if my memory
Mm,
serves me correct, they scored. It was Van Dijk, it was Kanate, and then someone else. Salah didn't score in that game, so yeah, Salah's been
yeah,
having
and I
a
think the
relatively
fullbacks also assisted
yeah
for
yeah
them. Mm,
yeah
yeah.
definitely. And I was watching that game thinking to myself, like, before the game started, obviously Pulisic scored very early on, and then it looked like AC Milan
Yeah.
were going to do something, and then they just fooled everybody because they just went back to type
Yeah.
and being their usual selves nowadays, and completely got destroyed at home. But I remember watching
Hmm.
that game and thinking to myself, how long is this sustainable for Liverpool? Because if this Salah guy doesn't start picking up soon, by his high standards, I think he has been slightly off the levels this season. And,
Yes. Agreed.
considering when he eventually goes for international duty, I'm not sure if the AFCON is anytime soon, actually. So I don't think that's an issue this season. But
Next year.
either way, if he doesn't kick on, my worry for Liverpool is that they don't have anybody else in that attack who can really carry the team. And then in addition to that, the midfield problem that we talked about earlier, I just don't know. I don't think Liverpool did enough business in the summer. And they're one of those teams that I look at. Yes, they're top of the table now, but we saw this last season. I think they were first around Christmas or November at some point last season, and then they just completely collapsed. Maybe collapse is too strong of a word because they did end up finishing third, but you know what I mean. In context of a title race,
Mm.
they just weren't able to sustain it, and I don't know, man. I don't really think Liverpool have the strength to go on, basically.
Mm. Okay, no, I hear it. I do think, I mean, they've had in regards, if you kind of compare it to an Arsenal, they've had tougher opponents. Arsenal, I mean, um,
Yeah,
compared to a Liverpool. So Liverpool, I mean, they will be. I'm pretty sure they will be facing Chelsea right after the um, international break. But then again, it's going to be at Anfield, so you never know. You never know. It probably will be Liverpool winning it, but I do think they would need to face even tougher opponents for
yeah,
us to be like, okay, hmm, you know,
yeah.
because
It
with
is
the
Chelsea,
Nottingham
by the way.
Forest, they lost. It is just
Yeah,
exactly. They lost 1-0 to a Nottingham Forest that
yeah,
really showed up tougher than the rest of the guys that they've met, in
yeah,
around the mid and lower tables in the league, I reckon. And with Milan, to be fair, I watched Serie A. Milan,
they ain't that.
I
Yeah,
knew Liverpool was going to do something. They're not really. Yes, okay, they won against Inter in the Milan derby, yada yada yada. But like in the league, they
yeah,
haven't really been that good. So I wasn't really shocked when Liverpool came back. I was annoyed, but I wasn't shocked.
yeah.
That's the difference. So with Liverpool, they do have to kind of be able to face tougher opponents and see, okay, how do you deal with that?
Yeah,
How will you deal with that? And then we'll see. We'll take it from there. But they so far have started the season very good. Just one loss in the league, and
and only
that,
two goals
and
conceded
also
as
conceded
well.
very less. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
Only 2 goals conceded. So of course, brilliant start. But let's see how we go on for the rest of the games with, once again, tougher opposition. I think is
yeah.
important.
It's a tough run for them because they've got Chelsea in the league, as you mentioned. Then they've got Leipzig away, which is not going to be easy. Then they've got Arsenal away, which is that's going to be tough. Odegaard or no Odegaard, Arsenal, they're playing dodgeball at the moment. So if you can't break down a low block, you're in trouble. And then they've got Brighton twice, once in the EFL Cup and then once in the league. Then they've got Leverkusen, they've got Villa at home, which won't be an easy game. Southampton will be easy. Then they've got Madrid, and after that they've got City. So they've got a tough run of games at the moment. I think the only
Oh
games for
my
Liverpool
God.
which are guaranteed wins is probably Villa at home, and I mean that with no disrespect to Villa. I know they're a good
No,
team, but I
no,
think
no, no, but
Liverpool are
it's
better.
fair. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I just think Liverpool are better, and then Southampton. Obviously, I would expect Liverpool to win that, and then the two Brighton games because Chelsea. Liverpool fans might get annoyed if there are any listening, assuming they haven't clicked off. But Chelsea have been good this season. Yes, they've been up and down. Yes, they had the performance against Crystal Palace, the performance against Man City. You can even count the performance against Nottingham Forest, which I believe they barely scraped past a 10-man Nottingham Forest. I don't even know if they won that game, to be honest. But
They drew.
Chelsea, yeah, they drew. Yeah, you're right. They couldn't beat a 10-man Nottingham Forest. But if you watch that game, Chelsea weren't actually that bad, and despite the fact that the scoreline looks bad, they did create a decent amount of chances, and Chelsea are starting to look like a threatening team. But my issue with Chelsea, I've always maintained this throughout every game that they've played, has always been that defense and then also that midfield for me personally. I think their attack, great. I think they'll score lots of goals this season. They might struggle against tougher opposition, but against the smaller teams, I expect them to do a good job. It's that midfield and that defense for me where I worry about Chelsea because they come up against decent teams and I think they're going to get ran through. I don't know what you make of Chelsea so far this season.
Chelsea, Chelsea, Chelsea. I mean, I'm not fully. I might have a different opinion to you. Yes, they've done well,
Yeah,
but I'm not fully buying that they're back. They're this team.
yeah.
Wow. I just come back to the mud side. Come back, Chelsea. Come back. Come back. Maybe I
Give us
might
some
have a
mud
slight
scenes
agenda. I
again.
don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Come back, Chelsea. But I just okay. So Cole Palmer, amazing player.
yeah.
Wow. Hopefully, in the next few years, he comes to the red side of Manchester. As
Or you're going to
United
piss off the Chelsea
fan
fans
over
now.
the years. Yeah, come. Sorry, Chelsea fans, but Cole will be coming home at some point. But
I
I
would love Cole
digress.
Palmer.
if we speak of, yes, I would love one day. I will manifest it one day. But when we talk about a Chelsea, I mean, obviously the manager has done very well. I'm not gonna, hey, I'll put my hands up. But there are
Yeah,
certain games as well where I'm just like, yeah, no. I think with the likes of Liverpool, I need them to play even more tougher opponents. I need to
yeah,
see, because okay, with Man City, I get it. It was the first game of the season, yada yada yada. I hear it.
yeah,
I need to see what do you do with even more tougher opponents. Maybe they might do even better. I don't know. Like last season, they did tend to do well when they had teams that they were even no not
yeah,
really predicted to beat, if per se. But I will still want to
yeah,
see it. I want to see it. Are you going to be able to continue this form? Certain players, I think, just aren't good enough with the likes of Enzo Fernandez. I don't rate
yeah,
that guy one bit at all. Casado, I think, is great. Sancho going to Man United. That's I mean, going to Man United, going to Chelsea. I mean, that still hurts. That still
yeah,
hurts. But hey, and he's done well, I would say. And but I just don't like to talk with how certain Chelsea fans. I don't know if you've been seeing it, Marcus, but Chelsea have the best attack in Europe.
yeah, yeah.
Excuse me,
I've seen it.
they
I've
don't
seen
have
it.
the best attack
Chelsea.
in England.
Yeah, they're
What?
unbearable. They're unbearable.
They are. I just
Yeah,
yeah, I will give them the flowers for certain things, 100%. But I just don't like with how people are saying, oh, after 6 games, I'm going to apologize to Chelsea. It's been 6 games. I think I need a little bit more of a sample size for me to say, oh, they're completely different. Yes, they had a great start. Don't get it twisted. But I need to see
yeah,
more. I need to see more. How you're not able to win against a 10-man Forest, I'm sorry. I'm going to give you a little bit of a side eye there, respectfully.
yeah,
So I need to get a bit more sample size for me to completely be convinced with this Chelsea side because I'm not convinced yet. And this is just me being honest. Not sour,
yeah.
but just honest.
I hear that. No, I hear that. For me, I mean, I've been praising Chelsea a lot just because I've been really impressed with how they've started. I didn't expect this at all. To be honest, I expected Chelsea to be a complete and utter disaster this season. I expected them to be
Mhm.
in the mud with us struggling, you know. So I have to give credit where credit is due. However, I don't think that Chelsea are going to be this amazing team forever because, as I've always said, you know, after praising their attack, I still don't trust their midfield. I still don't trust the defense. People can talk about how good Caicedo's been, how good Enzo's been. It doesn't for
Mhm.
me change what I think of them as players in a Chelsea shirt based on last season. You know, a few
Exactly.
good games this season doesn't just change my mind, and that's the thing with Chelsea. So I
Agreed.
hear it. You know, obviously I
Agreed.
rate Palmer. Unpopular
Yeah.
opinion, but I do think Madueke is better than some people let out. I know it's unpopular. You know, a lot of
Mhm.
people don't rate Madueke at all. Jackson's another one, another unpopular opinion. I think he's been good for Chelsea. Not
I don't
amazing,
like
just good.
Jackson. That's me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't, but you know what? I think he's doing all right, man. He's doing all right. There's a lot of other players in that Chelsea team that I think deserve stick over Jackson. The problem is
Yeah.
with him is it's
Fair
hard
enough.
to defend him when you see the some of the misses that he's, you know, had in a
Exactly.
Chelsea shirt and how many opportunities he's cost him. But at the same time, it's like I can't have one standard for him and then have a different standard for United players, you know, because there's certain United players that I
Hmm.
like that haven't really been putting up the numbers either. Josh Zirkzee being one, you know,
Yeah.
Hoyland being another one. So, you know, I
Yeah.
spent a large part of last season defending Hoyland and he didn't really bring up the GA, you know. And the interesting
I
thing
hear
about
it.
Jackson is in terms of GA, he's outperforming both of those players. So that's what it is with Jackson. You know, I think he's all right, you know, not amazing,
Hmm.
not terrible, just all right. You know, he's decent. And then obviously you mentioned Sancho. So yeah, Chelsea, interesting. Another London club I wanted to talk about before we forget is West Ham. You know, West Ham United are currently
Yes.
set in 12th. They've lost three,
Hmm.
drawn two, and I believe won
Yeah.
two this season. They lost 5-1 to Liverpool, I believe. And then the week before that, lost 3-0 to Chelsea, or maybe it was in the same week. I didn't watch either of those games, but it's not looking good for them. They also got destroyed by Man City, which is not too embarrassing. They lost to Villa as well.
Oh.
So the only reason I bring them up is because they were a team. I was having a private conversation with someone, and they were telling me that they predicted West Ham would finish in the top six. And I thought about it, because my initial reaction was like, wait, that's crazy. And then I went and I looked at the players they signed and the window they had, and I was like, actually, that makes a lot of sense, because I look at West Ham's team.
Hmm.
There's a lot of players there that I would take. Todibo, I would take at United. Jared Bowen, I would take at United. I actually like him a lot. Kudus, I would take at United. Right? There's a few players in that team that I think, genuinely speaking, would have been good in a United shirt. Now, Mikel Antonio, maybe not right now, but when we had Vegos playing up front, I definitely would have taken Mikel Antonio. There's been a few
Hmm.
times
Hmm.
over the last 3 or 4 years at United where I've thought, you know what, if we had a player like Antonio, he could be very useful, not to get us
Hmm.
challenging for the league or anything like that, but considering where we are. Paqueta, another one. I almost forgot about him because of the betting scandal and all of that stuff. It's a little
Yeah,
bit tricky to talk about him, but
true.
putting that to the side, what a footballer, man. So you got all of these players, and Lopetegui is not producing the goods, man. So I don't know what you make
It's
of
not
West
getting
Ham
the
if you've
best out of
watched them.
them. Yeah, yeah, I've been watching a lot of West Ham games to be fair, and I agree with you. The thing is, though, I also was one of those people that predicted them to be. I'm pretty sure I might have said in the top six as well. As well,
Yeah,
I might have said that
yeah,
just because I was looking at the players that they purchased, and it looks very good, and I was. Maybe I might have rated Lopetegui a bit more higher than most, and he's definitely disappointed me for sure. I think they have underperformed massively, and it's not been good. I Yeah, I generally believe that they were going to do better. I mean, maybe they'll turn things around afterwards, but if Lopetegui keeps performing like this, then I think they probably should get another manager. I'm not saying bring back a Moyes, but get somebody else because these group of players are too good to be in where they are. I think they should be trying to get that top six because they've done it before. They can do it again, you know?
yeah,
And yeah, I generally believe there are good players there. I think they've been smart with their spending, but it's just something with Lopetegui that he's not been able to get it across. He's not able to get the best out of this group. And that is concerning because you're wasting good group of guys. And like you mentioned with like a Paqueta, yes, with the scandal, I mean, he might go down. He might. I don't know what's happening, but it's not looking too good. So they have to kind of figure out what they do with that if he ends up being sentenced. So they need to then get a replacement, or
yeah,
maybe they have Kudos in that position. I don't know, but they do have options. Gerard Bowen, I don't think he's been that good this season as last season, but I think you can still get something out of him.
yeah,
Um, and I believe Ward Prowse, I believe, is on loan for Forest, so they don't have him anymore. But they still
yeah,
have some other good players either way. Um, they should do better. They should do better for what they're
yeah.
doing all right already now. You know.
Yeah, definitely. I concur with that. And I mean, one player we forgot to mention, as is typical of United, is Wan-Bissaka. I mean, he had
Of
a really
course.
good outing on his debut, I believe. Saw a lot of West Ham
Hmm.
fans raving about how good he is, and they can't believe United let him go. And I thought, here we go again. Here we go again. Another United player leaving and seemingly having a good time elsewhere. It's interesting because the Paqueta thing is like it's crazy considering what level he plays at and how a lot of these footballers get themselves embroidered in these crazy scandals. It's like, man, I'm
Mm,
sure the money wasn't for
you know.
himself. I'm sure he was doing it for mates or, who knows who he was doing it for. But I'm sure other people were profiting off of the scandal if the allegations are true. It's possible that Paquette is innocent, but it doesn't look good, bruv. It doesn't look good because I've been following the Paqueta lure, the Paqueta story, if you will. And it's kind of crazy. Apparently, he's got a new charge now, or they're trying to get a new charge on him because he's destroyed a piece of
Yes,
evidence,
his
essentially the
phone.
phone that they were using to test for forensics and to see if he had any links to some of the bets that were placed on him. The first time they seized the possession, they didn't find anything, but they wanted to look again, and supposedly Paqueta just mysteriously got a new phone around the same time, which can happen, but it's just a
Mysteriously,
weird coincidence. Yeah.
of course.
So yeah,
It's
the
like,
Paqueta situation is
hmm,
is is very interesting, man. It's very interesting, and I wouldn't really go near a player
he's
like that in this current climate. But if he clears his
no,
name,
me neither.
why not? You know.
Yeah, yeah,
So
if he clear, yeah, then that's something different. If he ends
yeah,
up doing it, or I mean, yeah, because with his charge, it looks pretty serious compared to like a Tonali who's banned
yeah,
for what, a year or so. He's now back,
yeah, he's
and with
back.
others you've seen throughout as well. But I think if if Paqueta ends up being sentenced, that might be a very long time, and that might be the end of his career potentially with
No,
what it
definitely,
looks to be. So,
definitely.
but like you said, if he's clear,
Yeah,
then I'm not going to say no. I ain't
yeah.
saying no.
I mean, those incidents that he was supposedly being charged of looked very, very, suspicious as well. But moving on
It
from
does.
Paqueta, yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of crazy, man. But moving on from Paqueta, we've the last thing we've
Mhm.
got to touch on, the elephant in the room, unfortunately, the mini injury crisis of our beloved club, United. I believe it was Mezraoui who had some sort of illness, which is supposedly not that serious.
Yeah.
He's got some sort of
Hmm.
issue that will keep him out for a couple of
Yeah.
weeks. And then I can't remember who else is out. I mean, we know that Euro's out and some players have been out for a while, but I'm trying to remember if there was any new injuries. I think Mason Mount might have picked up a knock recently. I think Amad
Yeah.
Diallo also had an issue with Ivory Coast and he had to get sent back. So it's just crazy, man. What do you make of United's mini injury crisis at the moment?
We also have just Maguire. Remember, he had to be subbed off in the last game. He's going to be out for a few weeks. We
Yeah.
we are in trouble. I think we might be cursed because I
Mm.
don't understand with the types of injuries that we get and the amount of injuries that we get. I just what is it? Is it like what do we do in training? What do we do in the game for the players to get, especially the type of injuries that they do be getting with Masraoui? Like it's nothing to do with that, but I'm talking about with some of
Yeah.
the others with a Maguire.
Yeah.
It's very concerning with medical staff, the sports science. Are we just? I know there's a lot of other clubs like Chelsea, of course, that's been dealing with a lot of injuries throughout
Yeah.
last season, and Arsenal dealing with their as well with
Yeah.
there's a lot basically is what I'm trying to say. Feeling just I don't get it what it is with Man United. It is
Yeah.
very, very concerning.
No,
There's always
definitely.
something new. We can't
Yeah.
ever catch a break at this point. Never. It's so
No,
annoying.
absolutely. Honestly, I feel
Yeah.
like I don't really believe in coincidences when it comes to injuries and bad luck. Obviously,
Hmm.
sometimes it is just genuinely bad luck, but I think most of the time there's always a reason why a team picks up a lot of injuries in a short space of time. And with Chelsea, you are right. Chelsea had the same thing, but there was a lot of reports suggesting that Pochettino's training was just too intense because a lot of the issues that Chelsea players had were muscle injuries, which suggest like it was just fatigue. So I'm not sure if the same is true of United in terms of what types of injuries we're getting, because obviously, like you said, Mazraoui and Diallo, it was an illness, right? That's not really because of training or anything, or it could be, but you,
Exactly.
you never know. It's hard to link the
Could be,
two.
but
So
yeah.
you look at it and you think to yourself, okay, for me personally, I've always thought that Ten Hag and the medical team and obviously his coaches, I've always gave them a little bit of the blame because we had that story of Lenny Euro being risked in preseason when we knew that he had an issue. You've got stories like Shaw being rushed back. There's so many little reports that we've seen around certain players who've come back at a certain time and then it comes out later that they weren't ready. And it's like there's no ways a medical team with state of the art equipment with modern technology and science at their disposal didn't know that this player wasn't ready. And equally, the players have to take a bit of responsibility as well because they know their bodies and they know when they're not ready. You've got like the whole limping thing with Saka as an example, right? Saka's a player who gets accused of
Mm,
limping all the time and all of this stuff. But I actually think Saka's very intelligent because when he feels like something is not wrong, he's like, hey, yo, job's done, man. Let me get off the pitch. You know what I'm saying? Like we're up now. There's no reason for me to be on here. Let me just get off before this niggle becomes a serious problem. More players should be doing that.
yeah.
More players should be like, yo, we're winning. There's no reason for me to be risking possibly sitting out for a few weeks. I'm feeling a bit of a knock and it's been uncomfortable all
Exactly.
game. Let me come off, you know. I feel like there's an element of that going on at United with certain players, and I think certain players are just so
Hmm.
scared of losing their place. They're so used to being guaranteed starters that now it's
Yeah.
affecting their ability to play long term. Maguire's an interesting one as well. He was
Hmm.
never injured at Oli. I mean, he obviously had injuries, but he would just play through them under Oli. And now we're seeing him suddenly
Yes,
become this player who spends a lot of time off. It's like, bro, what happened? Because for Oli, you were
that's why I'm
there
shocked.
all the time. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, you
So
were reliable. You were there. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
it's one of them
Yes.
ones where I'm just confused.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's interesting. It's not just the injuries as well. Obviously, United have been pretty poor in terms of the form. And looking ahead to some of our games, if I can just get them on screen, I believe our
Yep.
next game is Brentford. Not sure if that's home or away.
Yep.
And then
I'm
we've
pretty sure
got
that's at home.
ah yeah, it's at home, and then we've got Fenerbahce coming up soon as well,
Hmm.
which is going to be very interesting. Mourinho versus
Yep.
Eric Ten Hag. And yeah, United's another interesting team, man, because doing a lot poorer than a lot of people expected. So it's Crystal Palace. Wait, no, I'm looking at the wrong screen. We've got Brentford, then Fenerbahce away, and then we've got West Ham away. Then we've got Leicester in the League Cup. Then we've got Chelsea, and then we've got, I don't know how to pronounce this team, but I do recognize their emblem, the Austrian team at home in the Europa League. And then we've got Leicester again, and we've got Ipswich again, and then we've got another obscure team in the Europa League. So it's actually not a bad run of games
Mm.
for United under normal circumstances. But when Ten Hag is in the dugout, and with everything that's going on at the moment, these fixtures, some of them are looking quite spooky. You know, that Brentford game, I'm not too confident about it, but it is at home, so you never know. I've always felt, and this is like something that I think maybe a few Manchester United fans haven't really have a lot of Manchester United fans, pardon me, haven't really said. I haven't heard anyone really say this. I feel like we're all in doom and gloom mode at the moment, and we've all got such low confidence in
Yes,
the
we
team,
are.
and we all think that all these results are going to be bad. But I feel like this is a chance for the team to go on one of those deceiving runs again. You know, one of those runs where certain Manchester United fans are going to start changing their opinion again, start trusting Ten Hag. You know, I feel like we've
Hmm.
seen this movie so many times before, where a manager is so close to the sack, and then they just get a run of decent games. They get a few decent results. I'm not saying we'll go on like a win streak or anything, but I think we'll pick up some W's along the way. It won't change my opinion of the team, but I don't know. I feel like Ten Hag. I have this awful feeling that Ten Hag is going to be here a little bit longer than some of us expect. I can see you shaking your head in disagreement there. I'm being
I don't
serious.
know.
I'm being serious. I feel
Marcus,
like he's here to stay till at least November, if I'm being honest.
I generally think we are basically risking our full on season right now. We are just throwing the season out of the window by still keeping this guy, literally. And yes, with
Yeah,
some of the games you mentioned, I just not confident with a couple of them, especially with the Brentford, a Fenerbahce, forget about that, West Ham away. Well, I'm not. No, and nope. Not when he's at the wheel still with Ten Hag. So
yeah.
yeah, I need him to go. I need him to go.
Nah,
Respectfully,
don't we all, man?
I'm tired. We yeah,
Now we
don't we
all
all
do. We all
exactly?
do. Yeah, we all do. I
I
mean,
don't know what to do.
yeah. I can't shake this horrible feeling, man, that he's just gonna be here, like he's just gonna survive somehow. And even if the results are bad, like I'm wondering what it's gonna actually take for Ineos to pull the trigger, because the fact that they haven't done it now suggests to me that they are really biding their time and they're not concerned about the short term. So yeah,
Mm,
I think the West Ham game is going to be ugly. Even though West Ham have been slapped by Liverpool and Arsenal, I think they'll get better. I think that the Brentford game is going to be tricky. I think that obviously the Fenerbahce game could be very, very tricky. You know, that game could be embarrassing actually.
should
And then the other
other
games, I'm not too worried about. I think we should be okay against the likes of Leicester. Oh, Chelsea, that could be dangerous as well.
and the Barche one, we got Uncle Mo at the wheel. We got
Yeah,
Fred and Rebel licking their lips. We
yeah,
will be spanked left and right. That game, oh, I think it's going to be a massacre. Blood will be
Yeah.
shed, and it's going to be our blood spilled all over the pitch. Because I am the way, I don't think a lot of people notice. I don't think we treated Amrabat right. I think we mistreated Amrabat. And I think he will be ready to dunk on us. And with Fred,
No, think I
Fred,
think so
Fred
too.
is a lovable guy, but Fred wants to show up. He'll be like, you know what? Look what you missed. Y'all didn't want to keep. I left,
Yeah.
and here I
They've got
am.
Tadic
I'm
as well.
thriving. Exactly. They got Tadic.
Oh my
They
god.
have freaking Edin Dzeko. Yes,
They've
he
got
old, but
Saint
brother can still dunk on us. They got
they've got Saint
players.
Maximum as well.
Wait,
Now we're
I thought he went to
finished.
Besiktas. Wait,
We're
oh, I thought he
finished.
went to Fenerbahce.
Yeah,
I
we're
thought he
finished.
went to Besiktas. Oh
Yeah.
my,
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah.
Oh my
They've
God.
got I'm looking on SofaScore here. They're one of their latest league games. They started with Tadic, Saint Maximum, and Dzeko up front. The midfield three. I can't recognize these other two midfielders, but I know obviously Emrabat. And yeah, Fred didn't even play in that game, and they won 2-0. So that was hectic. Yeah, it could be a long day, guys. It could be a long, long day.
I'm letting you know we are gonna get spanked.
Yeah, I thought Saint Maximum went to Saudi. You said he went to Besiktas, but I don't know. I thought he went to
Yeah, no,
Saudi. I
no.
don't know.
I knew he went to Saudi, but I completely forgot. Like I don't know why I just assumed. I know he went on loan.
Yeah,
Didn't
I
remember
remember
that
there was a Premier
it
League player
was
that went to
Fenerbahce.
Besiktas though recently. Yeah,
Yeah, there was
but
somebody. So maybe I'm just mixing him up with somebody else.
yeah,
No, but
no,
either way,
it's
that to
crazy.
me, oh, it's gonna be even worse. He's gonna
Yeah,
have a field day. The only thing he just needs to be better at finishing. I haven't seen him obviously ever since he left Newcastle. I haven't really been watching him like that at all. But if he's like
yeah,
the player that he was, just half of it, and he works on his finishing, he's gonna enjoy himself.
yeah,
Gosh, yeah, guys, that might be Tenok's. It might be done then. It might be done then.
yeah.
Blood will
I
be shed.
mean,
Uh,
I don't know whether to be happy at that prospect or be sad because of how bad United have to be to get into that position. But either way, if it ends with Ten Hag being sacked and us looking for a better manager, then I guess I can't be too mad at it at the end of the day. But
Yeah,
yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. So it could be a long few weeks. I mean, it
let's
will
see.
be a long few weeks for United fans across the globe. But as usual, Sophia, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on the channel. Obviously, I will tag you
Thank you.
in the title and maybe include some of your links in the description as well. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you coming on, and these are kind of fun to do,
No
man.
problem.
Honestly, I did not know Saint Maximum played for Fenerbahce, so I'm kind of flustered right now because that team
Yeah,
is a lot stronger than I
I
thought.
also,
Yeah,
yeah, I
it's kind of
forgot
crazy.
and I'm now terrified even more. So yeah,
Yeah, it's crazy, but
respectfully.
yeah, people, if you did make it to the end, leave a like on the video. Thank you for taking time out of your day to watch or listen to this. And of course, please subscribe if you are new, run up the likes. And yeah, road to 1K. We're getting very close. I saw you recently got to 4K as well. So well done. That's pretty dope.
Thank you.
It's pretty awesome to
Thank you.
see people improving in the world of YouTube. So yeah, man, until
Yeah.
next time, we will check you guys. Peace.
Peace. Bye bye.
Right.